Alexandra Eala just changed Philippine tennis forever. What if I told you that one 21-year-old just walked into Washington, D.C., defeated an Olympic champion, a defending champion, a former Grand Slam finalist, a four-time major champion, and then came back from a rain-interrupted final to beat the world number 3? And what if I told you the final chapter wasn't just a victory? It was a 6-0 demolition. Alexandra Eala didn't simply win a tennis tournament. She changed what people believe is possible for Philippine tennis. Because 3 days before that trophy was in her hands, Eala was still being introduced as the young Filipina trying to break through. Now she is a WTA champion, and the road she took to get there may be even more remarkable than the trophy itself. But before we get into how this happened, subscribe to the channel if you want more stories about the biggest breakthroughs in tennis, because Alexandra Eala's story is moving very quickly, and this may only be the beginning. #The week that became history. Washington, D.C. was supposed to be another stop on the summer hardcourt calendar. The Mubadala DC Open is a WTA 500 tournament played at the William H.G. Fitzgerald Tennis Center, with a stadium capable of holding thousands of fans. It had stars: Jessica Pegula, Elina Svitolina, Naomi Osaka, Leylah Fernandez, Madison Keys, Venus Williams, and Alexandra Eala. But nobody could have predicted that the 21-year-old from the Philippines would walk through one of the toughest draws in the tournament and leave Washington as its champion. The WTA's own tournament preview described the field as loaded with top-ranked players and Grand Slam champions. Eala was not supposed to have an easy route. She got the opposite. Her first opponent was Qinwen Zheng, the Olympic singles champion. Then came Leylah Fernandez, the defending Washington champion. Then Elina Svitolina. Then Naomi Osaka. And finally, waiting in the championship match, Jessica Pegula, the top seed and world number 3. That is not a gentle introduction to a WTA 500 tournament. That is a gauntlet. And Eala didn't merely survive it. She kept getting better. #the first warning. The tournament began with Zheng Qinwen. For Eala, this was already a test of whether the spectacular form she had shown earlier in the season could translate into another major run. And she passed. But the next match was where the tournament began to feel different. Leylah Fernandez was the defending champion. The Canadian had won the Washington title the previous year, and Eala knew exactly what kind of opponent she was facing. Aggressive, experienced, comfortable on hard courts, and dangerous when she gets momentum. Eala took control early, winning the first set 6-2. Then came the moment that could have changed the entire match. Fernandez raced to a 5-1 lead in the second set. One more game and the match was heading toward a deciding set. A younger player might have panicked. Eala didn't. She won 6 games in a row. 6. From 1-5 down, Eala took the set to a tiebreak and then dominated it 7-1. Final score: 6-2, 7-6. That comeback wasn't just a win. It was evidence of something Eala has been developing throughout 2026. The ability to stay composed when a match begins moving against her. Reuters confirmed the comeback, noting that Eala erased the 1-5 deficit and closed out the tiebreak 7-1. And suddenly, the questions surrounding her changed. It was no longer, can Alexandra Eala compete with these players? It became, who can actually stop her? Then came Svitolina. The answer was supposed to be Elina Svitolina, a former world number 3, an experienced Grand Slam semi-finalist, one of the most tactically intelligent players of her generation. And Eala had already shown that she could beat established stars. But beating one opponent is an upset. Beating them again and again is a pattern. Eala defeated Svitolina 6-3, 6-4 to reach the semifinal. And that win carried another important message. This wasn't a player getting lucky with a favorable draw. She was systematically dismantling highly experienced opponents. Every round presented a different problem. Zheng tested her from the beginning. Fernandez tested her ability to protect a lead. Svitolina tested her tactical discipline. Then came the biggest name of them all, Naomi Osaka. #the Osaka test. Naomi Osaka is not simply another opponent. She is a 4-time Grand Slam champion, a former world number 1, a player whose serve and first strike tennis have defined some of the biggest moments in modern women's tennis. And before the tournament, Osaka had already spoken publicly about Eala. Her words were striking. "I think she's a star." Osaka also described Eala as an inspiration and said she enjoyed hearing her speak. That was before the semifinal. After the semifinal, those words suddenly carried even more weight. Because Eala didn't beat Osaka in a 3-hour survival battle. She controlled the match. 6-4, 6-2, 76 minutes. Reuters reported that Eala broke Osaka late in the opening set and then carried the momentum straight through the second. Think about what that means. A player who had already beaten Zheng, Fernandez, and Svitolina was now standing in a WTA 500 final after defeating one of the most recognizable champions in women's tennis. And she did it without dropping a set in the semifinal. But there was still one problem. Jessica Pegula was waiting. #the final nobody could predict. Jessica Pegula entered the final as the tournament's top seed and the world number 3. She had already beaten Diana Schneider 7-5, 6-4 in the semifinal. She was experienced. She had won major titles. She knew how to manage pressure. And, perhaps most importantly, she had already been in this kind of situation against Eala. The final began with Pegula taking control. She won the opening set 6-4. Then, just as Eala appeared to be finding her rhythm, the rain arrived. The match was suspended. Pegula led 6-4, but Eala was ahead 2-1 in the second set when play was stopped. And suddenly, the final became something completely different. The players had to leave the court. The match would not be decided that day. Eala had a night to think about losing the first set. Pegula had a night to think about protecting the lead. And when they returned, nobody knew which version of either player would appear. This is where the story gets extraordinary. Because Eala didn't come back simply trying to survive. She came back to take control. #the comeback. Eala won the second set 6-4. The final was going to a deciding set. And then something happened that nobody watching could have expected. Eala took the third set 6-0. Not 7-5. Not 7-6. Not a dramatic deciding set tiebreak. 6-0. The 21-year-old who had entered Washington looking for another big breakthrough finished the biggest match of her career by winning the final 6 games without dropping one. The final score: Alexandra Eala defeated Jessica Pegula 4-6, 6-4, 6-0. Reuters reported that Eala won 10 of the final 13 games after the match resumed, using fearless baseline tennis and her left-handed serve to turn the final completely around. And with that final point, Philippine tennis history changed forever. Alex Eala became the first player from the Philippines to win a WTA Tour-level singles title. Not the first Filipina to win a WTA 500. The first player from the Philippines to win a WTA Tour-level singles championship. That distinction matters, because this wasn't simply another tournament victory. It was a national first. #from promise to champion. For years, Eala's name had been connected with the word potential. She was the young Filipina, the promising junior, the player who trained at the Rafael Nadal Academy, the 2022 U.S. Open girls singles champion, the teenager who was expected to become the next major name in Philippine tennis. But tennis has a brutal way of exposing the difference between potential and performance. Eventually, potential stops being enough. You have to win. Eala began doing exactly that. Her breakthrough at the 2025 Miami Open announced her to a much wider tennis audience. She defeated Grand Slam champions during that run and reached the semifinal. Then came more development, more difficult matches, more losses, more lessons, and eventually more wins. The WTA itself highlighted Miami as one of the places where Eala's rise began, noting that she had entered that tournament ranked outside the top 100 before making a spectacular run. But 2026 has been different. The wins have become more frequent. The opponents have become bigger. And Eala's belief has become much harder to ignore. #the Wimbledon chapter. Just weeks before Washington, Eala had already produced one of the biggest results of her career at Wimbledon. She reached the 4th round. And in the process, She defeated defending champion Iga Swiatek in a stunning center court performance. The official Roland Garros report on Wimbledon described Eala's 7-6, 9, 6-2 victory over Swiatek as another landmark moment for the 21-year-old. That matters because Washington did not come out of nowhere. Eala wasn't suddenly transformed over 7 days. The Washington title was the latest and biggest piece of evidence that her level had been rising for months. Earlier in the summer, she had also defeated Elina Svitolina in Berlin. Rybakina was then ranked number 2 in the world. Eala won that match 7-5, 6-4. The WTA reported that victory as one of the biggest wins of Eala's career at the time. So look at the sequence. Rybakina, Swiatek, Osaka, Pegula, different surfaces, different playing styles, different stages, same player, Alexandra Eala. #the crowd is becoming part of the story. There is another part of Eala's rise that cannot be measured by rankings alone. The fans. Filipino supporters have followed her around the world. This was already visible at the Australian Open, where huge crowds gathered for Eala's matches. Jessica Pegula herself had previously commented on the extraordinary following Eala was attracting, describing people wrapped around the stadium trying to get into her match. Novak Djokovic also acknowledged the phenomenon, saying that having crowds like that was ultimately a good problem for tennis to have. And that support followed Eala to Washington. By the time she reached the final, the atmosphere around the tournament had become part of the story. But here's the important distinction. The crowd didn't hit the winners. The crowd didn't serve at 120 miles per hour. The crowd didn't save match points. Eala did. The fans amplified the moment. They didn't create it. #the numbers behind the breakthrough. And this is where the story becomes even more interesting. Before Washington, the WTA season statistics had Eala at 2-2 against top 10 opponents in 2026. After Washington, that record changed dramatically. She had just beaten the world number 3 in the final after defeating the world number 13 in the semifinal and world number 9 in the quarterfinal. Reuters reported that the Washington title was Eala's 5th consecutive victory over a top 10 opponent and would lift her to a career-high number 20 in the world. Number 20. That is the new reality. And it means something else. Eala is no longer approaching the biggest tournaments as an outsider hoping to cause damage. She is entering them as a seeded player. The rankings have finally caught up with the performances. #why the 6-0 matters. There is something psychologically powerful about the final set against Pegula. Because winning a title is one thing. Winning it after losing the opening set is another. Winning it after a rain delay is another. But finishing the championship match 6-0 against the world number 3, that tells you something about Eala's mentality. When the match was restarted, she did not play like someone afraid of losing the biggest opportunity of her life. She played like someone who believed she could win it. That distinction is enormous. The 21 Eala is still learning. She will have bad days. She will lose matches. There will be tournaments where the ball doesn't cooperate and the opponent doesn't give her anything. That's professional tennis. But the Washington final demonstrated something that rankings cannot fully capture. Eala can absorb adversity and still raise her level. And that may be the most important development of all. #the story has already changed. Before Washington, the conversation was about whether Alexandra Eala could become a star. Now the conversation is about what kind of star she can become. That is a completely different question. Naomi Osaka had already called her a star and an inspiration. Kei Nishikori, another major figure in Asian tennis, has also praised Eala's potential, saying she has the tools to become a top 10 player if she stays healthy and mentally strong. Those comments matter, not because famous players are always right, but because the people who have competed at the highest levels are recognizing something in Eala's game. The ball striking, the movement, the left-handed serve, the willingness to take the ball early, and increasingly the mentality. #the next question. Now comes Toronto, then Cincinnati, then New York. The US Open begins on August 30th. And Eala will arrive there as a player with a career-high ranking of number 20. That means the dynamic has changed again. She is no longer the unknown teenager walking into a grand slam hoping nobody notices her. Everybody notices her now. Opponents will prepare differently. Coaches will study her matches. Fans will expect her to win. And that creates an entirely new challenge. Can she handle being the hunted player? Because Washington proved that Eala can surprise the world. The next stage of her career will be about something much harder. Doing it again, and again, and again. Hashtag a new era for Philippine tennis. There is something bigger happening here than one player winning one tournament. For years, Philippine sports culture has been dominated by basketball, boxing, and other sports. Tennis has never occupied the same place in the national imagination. Eala is changing that. Her success is giving young Filipinos a new athlete to identify with, a new sport to follow, a new reason to pick up a racket, and perhaps most importantly, proof that a player from the Philippines can reach the very top levels of international tennis. Eala herself has spoken about wanting to inspire others and about the importance of making tennis more accessible. That could ultimately become one of her greatest legacies. Not just the trophies, not just the rankings, but the players who come after her. The children who see Alex Eala lifting a WTA trophy and decide that they want one too. Hashtag the trophy that changed everything. Think back to where this story began. A 21-year-old Filipina entered Washington. Her name was already known, but she had never won a WTA Tour-level singles title. Then she beat an Olympic champion. She beat the defending champion. She beat a former world number 3. She beat a 4-time Grand Slam champion. And then she beat the world number 3 in a final. She lost the first set. Rain stopped the match. She came back the next day. She won the second set. And then she won the third set 6-0. For opponents. For different challenges. One champion. Alexandra Eala. The first player from the Philippines to win a WTA Tour-level singles title. And now the question is no longer whether she belongs. She has already answered that. The question is how far this can go. Because if Washington was Eala's arrival, New York could be her next statement. And this time, she won't walk into the US Open hoping to shock the tennis world. The tennis world will already be watching. So here's the question. How far does Alex Eala go at the US Open? 4th round? Quarter-final? Semi-final? Or does this incredible run continue even further? Put your prediction in the comments. Pick the exact round. Because if Washington taught us anything, it's this. Alex Eala isn't waiting for the future anymore. She has arrived.